schools damaged by Hurricane Melissa still won't be ready for face-to-face classes. It's been roughly 10 months since the hurricane, and the government says the funds for repairs have been allocated. So what's causing the holdup? And while we're talking about schools, how far should the rules go when it comes to what students wear and how they groom themselves? Some advocates say there needs to be a balance between school rules and students' rights. Also in the program, the Jamaica Environment Trust JET wants the government to clarify recent statements made regarding Jamaica's public beach access. Then later, CVM reporters will break down some of the biggest stories making the headlines this week. Good evening, I'm Tyrone Reed, and this is Lead Story. Thanks so much for joining us and staying with us. Now, the new academic year is just weeks away, but for some students, the return to the classroom may not be as straightforward. Nearly 10 months after the passage of Hurricane Melissa, more than half of the schools damaged by the storm are still not expected to be ready for face-to-face learning when school reopens on September 7. The government says funding has been made available for the repairs. So why are so many schools still not ready? The figure we last saw here at CVM TV was about 14%. Now, the education minister said recently she's displeased with the pace at which repair works are being done. Let's take a look.
Don't just take a report and say this is the report. I go and I check for myself. And I have found that sometimes when I go to the site and everybody knows I'm coming, all the workmen are there, working really hard. But when I go unannounced, I often don't see them so hard at work. So yesterday I went to some schools since I was going to be here, and that was a similar story in some of the schools. And so that's one area that obviously more work is needed, because we have a lot of schools that are delayed in terms of the reconstruction. And as you saw, $25 billion worth of contracts have gone out to contractors. It's a lot of money that's been allocated. And so we need to see the work happening. And so we're out there monitoring, seeing some of the work. It's not gone as well as we want. We're looking at the quality of the work also. But this is something that I need your help with also. If you see substandard work, report it in. Whenever it's going too slow, report it in.
The Education Minister there, Senator Dr. Dana Morris Dixon. With us now via phone to discuss this issue is Government Senator and Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Marlon Morgan. Top of the afternoon to you, Mr. Senator. Good to have you.
Well, top of the evening to you, Tyrone. Thanks for having me. Let me say good evening to your viewers as well.
Indeed. Surely, Mr. Morgan, this must be quite the concern for the Education Ministry, the pace at which the works are proceeding. What's the ministry doing to remedy this malady?
Well, it absolutely is, because as you can appreciate, Tyrone, having engaged contractors several months ago, you know, the fact that we're spending in the order of $25 billion, which is a significant sum that we would have had to carve out and provide for the repair and reconstruction of schools consequent on the passage of Hurricane Melissa. It is concerning the takeaways that we are not where we would have wanted to be at this stage, but we're pulling out all the stops to get there in many instances. And for those schools that will not have their projects at 100% completion come September morning, and September morning here really speaks to September 7. So for those schools, we will have to roll out various mechanisms to better or as optimally cater to our learners as possible, whether it is that we use a rotational system, whether we have shifts incorporated, and we also have such solutions as makeshift classrooms. These are really wooden structures with zinc roofing top, and they serve to provide key classroom spaces to facilitate teaching and learning. So the takeaway, as I said, we're not where we would want to be, but I'd just like to use a minute or so to unpack for you and the viewers what some of the concerns have been. And the truth is, there have been some challenges that would have created or exacerbated the plight of contractors. As you can appreciate, Tyrone, we have low unemployment in the country, and in many respects, the availability of workers have been proving to be a challenge for our contractors. As you can appreciate, a number of the application in relation to the repairs going on in terms of skill sets are, work that requires specialized skills like carpentry and electrical installation and so on. So there is an element of the work at our schools that you can have laborers attend upon, but there's also an element that really sees the contractors requiring specialized skill sets. And of course, we do not have a surfeit of that in the country. We have a paucity of that, and that is why we're continuing to build out through HEART, in particular, construction related and other skill sets. And there's also the building material challenge, because immediately coming out of the passage of Hurricane Melissa, our schools would be competing with a host of other entities for building material, because homes would have to, be competing in the market for building material. I'm speaking of roofing material like zinc and so on, and other key restorative material. And so you find that our contractors have experienced supply side constraints in relation to the ability, or the availability rather, and their ability to secure critical building material and do so in as timely a manner as they would like. For example, there are a number of contractors who have a challenge securing the window solution that they would need to affix at various schools, because there are challenges in relation to that window that has to be fabricated. It is not a shelf item, so it's something you go in and just pull off the shelf like a loaf of bread. It is something that you provide measurements to the contract, to the supplier rather, and they do a fabrication of that.
A couple of things there, Senator Morgan. Now, you've touched on a couple of things. Skilled workers being among them, building material that is required, and the scarcity of both. Is the government at this hour contemplating bringing in skilled labor to hasten this process?
Well, no, that's not a contemplation. What we have done, certainly I've been out in the field, like our portfolio minister, Dr. the Honorable Dana Morris Dixon, and my colleague, in terms of the state minister, Rhoda Crawford. We have been out in the field, and what we've been tasked to do is to impress upon the contractors to pull out all the stops, and in particular, because some of our school leaders have registered this complaint, pull out all the stops in terms of seeking to engage as many of the community persons as possible, which makes it less onerous on the contractors themselves, because we know that there are contractors who have their respective teams all over the island, and they bring in their teams from all over the island. Some from as far as Montego Bay in the case of St. Elizabeth, some as far as St. Mary in the case of Black River, where I visited this past Tuesday. So we are mindful that contractors have their team that they would have been using over the years and not necessarily utilizing the local supply of labor in as much as we would perhaps like to. So I'm imploring members of parliament and other stakeholders to partner with the school leaders and other key stakeholders at the schools to see how best they can help point the contractors to local persons.
We're quickly running out of time, and there are a few questions I want to get to you, Senator Morgan. Sure. The latest numbers you've seen in terms of the numbers that have been completed, what are those numbers, and how many more schools do you think you'll be able to get through before the September 7 comes?
Well, I'll have to apprise myself as to the latest in terms of the overall data set. What I can say at this point is that
it appears we've lost the connection there with Senator Morgan. We're going to try and and reconnect with him. But of course, we're talking about the number of schools that have been repaired so far. You're back
Tyrone.
with us, Senator. Yes, we're hearing you now. So you're saying you'd have to get those numbers.
That I visited.
Yes.
Well, I'll commit to get those numbers to you by Monday in terms of the overall data set, because as you know, it is an ongoing phenomenon, and there are schools that are at varying stages of completion. So, for example, I saw schools that were at 95% completion with just minor things left in terms of electrical installation and electrical applications to complete,
Indeed.
and just some ceiling work and so on.
It seems the business model, Senator Morgan, is to allocate these funds to the schools and have them preside over the repair works. Should that business model be tweaked? Should it be tweaked? Because of this 25 billion, it sounds, based on what the education minister has said, the money has been dispatched to the schools, and she's not necessarily pleased with the rate at which the work is progressing.
Well, what you described a while ago, though, Tyrone, is not the entirety of the story. It's not precisely the business model. Yes, we expect the underground stakeholders, meaning the school, to be a key element in terms of driving the repair and being the back of the contract and holding them to account and so on. But importantly, we have the Technical Services Division and, of course, the National Education Trust that are the key point persons from our ministry superintendent's standpoint in relation to these projects.
I know I'm out of time, but this is important. I'm out of time, but let me just stop you there, because I need to get this clear for the viewers. The business model isn't that the ministry allocates the funds to the schools and then they preside over the repairs. You're saying that's not the business model?
The ministry allocates the funds for the respective projects of, at the schools, but it is the ministry through NET or Technical Services Division. So there are two outfits from the ministry, the National Education Trust or the Ministry Central Technical Services Division, that gets into the business of contracting. Funds are earmarked, and from time to time, based on the presentation of invoices and so on, claims by the contractors, disbursement of funds are made. So it is not the schools that handle the funds and those things.
No, the funding, but who handles the engagement of the contractors and so on? That's the ministry.
The technical, so for the abundance of course, for the avoidance of any doubt, the Technical Services Division of the ministry undertakes a suite of projects, as well as the National Education Trust, one of our agencies at the ministry, undertakes another suite of projects.
All right, so which raises a critical question then, Marlon Morgan. So when the minister turns up at a school unannounced and she does not see the workmen working, that would be a failure of oversight on the ministry's part.
You would have seen a report in the media, or at least reportage in recent days, but where the National Education Trust, for example, is indicating that it is seeking to ramp up its capacity vis-a-vis, building officers, as it were. Because as you know, this has been a peculiar scenario in that you're hit by a Category 5 event. So your normal, your regular capacity would be hard pressed.
And I hear that. And unfortunately, we're out of time, Marlon Morgan.
The sheer number of schools that
but I just want to be clear on this one point, my brother.
Your normal capacity would not have
the oversight should be provided by the ministry and its teams. That's what should happen.
Indeed. The Technical
just
Services
want to be clear
Division,
on that.
to the extent that they have those projects, and the National Education Trust. So that is correct, sir.
God willing, next week we should invite you back so we can complete this important conversation. But Marlon Morgan, thank you for making the time.
To develop state-of-the-art security solutions like our new Total Connect smart home automation system that gives you 24/7 access to control your appliances, lights, cameras, and doors using your smartphone, tablet, or PC. As the most trusted electronic security company in Jamaica, Hawkeye has the fastest response times to get to you when you need us most. Trust Hawkeye's Total Connect. Hawkeye, securing what matters most.
So get up and unite for your team. Give the best we've got. It's how we rock. Every preach, every part, every deal, every wicked, every soul. And the heart and soul and passion, and the culture, Caribbean flows. When people come out all nation, with the team in a unification. When the stadium ram bleach at the grandstand, and the meaning of unification. It's how we play. It's how we play. how we play.
Lead story. Now, the long-awaited National Student Dress and Grooming Policy is back in the headlines, with schools set to reopen in a few weeks, or in perhaps a couple of weeks. There are concerns about how far schools should go in regulating students' appearance. The Education Minister has pretty much said rules are rules, but advocates argue those rules must also respect students' rights and dignity. Joining me now via the telephone is spokesperson for the advocacy group Hear the Children's Cry, attorney at law Priscilla Duhaney. Top of the evening to you, Lady Priscilla. Welcome once again to Lead Story.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon as well, Tyrone.
Indeed. But what do you make of the latest on this? This document the ministry has issued, basically giving policy guidance to what should take place in terms of the dress code for students.
Well, to be quite frank, I must say I may be with my group, the Children's Cry, we might be leaning more in favor of the Minister of Education, frankly. We strongly believe that there is need for a grooming policy for sure, and that's one which can help guide the institutions. We have seen over the years, quite a number of students and even schools that have been brought through the court for various challenges, infractions due to grooming. And so we believe to create a level of a balance in the schools and to create this atmosphere and environment in which students will understand, as well as the schools, what the rules are and what is accepted and what is not accepted from the school. I think it is a brilliant idea. I totally endorse it, and I believe that it is important to enforce it.
But you know, one of the more problematic areas, Priscilla Duhaney, of this issue that the grooming policy touches is this arbitrary way that schools would lock children out of schools because they are in breach of the grooming policy. And quite frankly, I'd love to hear your take on that, because the policy basically is saying no lockouts. Yeah, it replaces the arbitrary rules with standardized guidelines to stop schools from blocking students from entering campus over minor infractions. That seems a very important step by the ministry.
Right, exactly. And as we say, that is very good, because I understand that was something, a very critical area which many had concerns with. We believe that it was exposing our children to various types of illicit activities. Sometimes you lock them out, they are exposed to danger, whether it is a vehicle passing by, accident. Some of them probably left the compound or would leave the compound and go about their business, getting, gang-related activities and all sorts of different challenges that may occur. And so I am definitely of the view that it was a good, it's good that the minister took the time. I believe they were listening to the cries of others, and they have now modified how they are going to go about it. So balancing the rights of our children is important, and to look into other ways in which they can also still experience consequences or be punished for breaching of these rules. So therefore, we believe that, instead of locking them out, because school is important, and we believe that the education is what they come to school for, not necessarily for dressing or to disregard their grooming altogether. But it is important that they have an education. So having them come inside, but there must be clear communication. So we want to make it very clear is that what we believe the schools are now vested to do is that with this policy, do not just take it and leave it as though it is automatically known to everyone what is in the policy. But you must ensure that you have several dialogue conversations about this matter. Clearly have written correspondence to the parents in advance, give them ample notice, let them know the do's and the don'ts, let them know prior that this is the rule, and if it is breached, this will happen. And we can see where steps can be made. We would suggest that you give a letter, a warning letter, so to speak, first, and from there, if it is that the child continues or there's a repeat of this offense, then think about detention, and we move forward until the issue is resolved and both parties can feel comfortable with the decision that is made.
Of course, advocacy groups have welcomed the framework, but they've cautioned against rigid rules, the rigid stance of rules are rules. They don't necessarily want that approach. And they're also warning against regulations that would give the impression that we're advocating for Eurocentric standards or target, as they say, black boys' natural hair. Are there any concerns for you culturally, Priscilla Duhaney, or for Hear the Children's Cry? Should we make some amount of room to facilitate the cultural expression of our students?
Well, listen, I believe that we should have our sense of freedom and cultural expression should remain. However, there's always limitation, and we also have to bear that in. I believe the government and the minister in particular will adopt and adapt as time go on, and we will see some changes. But at this present moment, and we need to remember that right now, if it is that your constitutional right is being affected, that you will have some form of recourse legally. However, if you do constitutional right is not being affected, then you really do not have any standing. And so a child who has a Rastafarian here, yes, to my knowledge, the policy would make room and accommodate that. But if you have individuals that do not have any particular religious beliefs, it's not necessarily cultural more than just being unkept and untidy. This is going to give room to individuals claiming that this is a cultural expression and also creating problem. Because remember, it is not just limited or confined to a hair or a hairstyle. We now would have to take into account the length of your clothes, the tightness of your clothes, and we must remember that our children are still children. They have to be subjected to rules, and the school is not just to teach from a textbook, but to prepare individuals for life, for experiences, for social awareness. And so we have to still put them in some level of constraint and understanding of what is expected. I think we oftentimes treat grooming as something which is minor, but it is actually a mental preparation that is taking place that area overall.
I have about 30 seconds left, but I think there's at least one school that allows students that maintain a certain average or performing well academically to, they've allowed them more freedom to express themselves with their hair. What do you make of that?
Well, as I said, from the standpoint, from what I've seen, we can also look at possibly discrimination. So you will have to bear that in mind. If individuals can do what they feel like and do as they please, you may find that some children will be able to afford such. And then this may create another problem where some feel left out, some feel less than, and a sense of inequality. So it is best to have one policy that covers and kind of curtail this sense of freedom of expression, and so to maintain order in the school and also people feel comfortable.
All right, we have to leave it there, but thank you so much, Priscilla Duhaney, spokesperson for our advocacy group here, the Children's Cry. I appreciate the time and the thoughts.
Thank you.
Indeed. This is the TGIF edition of Lead Story. We'll take a break right now.
Attention government pensioners. The Accountant General's Department's Life Certificate Drive is coming your way. Look out for us on the following dates. Tuesday, September 1, Morant Villas in St. Thomas. Wednesday, September 2, St. James Methodist Church in Clarendon. Thursday, September 3, Hanover Parish Library. Friday, September 4, Westmoreland Parish Library. Saturday, September 5, Greater Portmore Branch Library. Monday, September 7, St. Mary Parish Library. Tuesday, September 8, St. Anne Parish Library. Wednesday, September 9, Trelawney Parish Library. Thursday, September 10, Portland Parish Library. Friday, September 11, St. Matthew's Anglican Church in St. Elizabeth. And on Saturday, September 12, at the St. Catherine Parish Library in Spanish Town. Remember, drop boxes are also available at parish libraries in Hanover, St. James, Portland, Westmoreland, and Manchester. Follow our social media pages and the press for more details.
One love every time, peace and love in the place. Jamaica want love every time. And that if you say, and that if you do, and that the life if you live. One love Jamaica. Peace.
The time brought to you by the Ministry of National Security and Peace is...
Me and the style is no scam and not style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress will charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Thanks so much for staying with us. There's been much debate in recent months about access to Jamaica's beaches. The government says 60 beaches are available to the public free of charge. But what does free public access actually mean? That's the question the Jamaica Environment Trust is asking tonight. JET is calling for town hall discussions to clarify the policy and ensure beach access is treated as a public right. Well, I am now being joined by Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody. She's the CEO of the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET. Top of the evening to you, Dr. Rodriguez Moody. Welcome to Lead Story.
Hi, good evening. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. The privilege and pleasure are ours. Dr. Moody, there's been much debate about this. The numbers are not aligning from either side of the divide on this issue. What can JET say to bring some clarity to the number of beaches that are available to the public?
I wish I could offer clarity on that. I think the numbers that we see circulating in the public about what percentage of the shoreline is designated as a public beach, or these are the numbers that have been presented by the government of Jamaica. So we have a different set of numbers in the beach access and management policy, and then we have another set of numbers that have been recently put forward by Minister Bartlett in his conversation and a brief that was prepared by Minister Samudo. So we're seeing different sets of numbers, but again, that I think is not where we should be getting caught up in. I feel like we're getting caught up in the weeds, right? The bigger issue is, do Jamaicans have a right to access the beach? The reality is no. And the beach access policy was really intended to ventilate this issue, address this issue of access. And while it spends a lot of time, backstory and history of the issue, talking about where other parts of the Caribbean where the right of access to beaches is something that all of their citizens have, it then pulls back and doesn't really address that issue, and then makes a commitment that, we're going to give one public beach per parish. And I think this is where we need to be really focusing the discussion. Do Jamaicans have a right of access? No. And then we are pushing for it to be a public commons, which basically is a resource that belongs to all of us, should be managed in public interest for current and future generations. So not something that is commercialized and you can then take away access based off of who owns the land or who has a license. But as a Jamaican, I know I have a right of access. Not unique, not out of the box request. This is something that happens in other Caribbean countries, and I think it's something that we need to be talking about more rather than focusing on those numbers.
But all right, so 60 beaches available to the public free of charge is what the government has said, and that raises several questions. What does free of charge mean, first of all? And secondly, how many beaches are there in total, for us to have an idea of what percentage this would represent? Are those questions that we should be asking Dr. Rodriguez-Moody, and do you have the answers to them?
Again, I think it's something that the discrepancies in the figures, the government needs to come out and not just start pushing. And I think that's from that, I think that was an interview or a speech that was Minister Bartlett had given, speaking about that, these discussion about beach access is hurting Jamaica. I think that rather than if that is hurting Jamaica, let's deal with the issue of access. But instead, what we've seen is this push about, publicly available numbers. But either way, the numbers that are being put forward in the public domain are the government numbers. It's just that they themselves have this discrepancy. So yeah, it would be great if they could resolve it and let us know, what is the actual correct figure? Because it's in their policy, it's in these statements, what is the correct figure? But again, not getting caught up in that figure, but rather to let's go to the core issue. If you said a discussion on public beach access is hurting Jamaica's image, then fix it. Not by turning around and, saying, oh, but we have public access, but turning around and addressing the issue that is a core issue, which is, do Jamaicans have a fundamental right to the coastline?
And as it now stands, you don't think that is the case?
No, I mean, it is not the case. You can get a license to privatize a beach, and then public is not available. The only way you can access that beach is if you pay to enter, or you buy a day pass, or whatever. And in many cases, people don't want access to all of these different things. They maybe just want to swim.
What's so wrong with let me push back at this argument just for a minute, and I'm just playing the advocate here, Teresa Rodriguez-Moody. What's so wrong with having access at certain points, and then there are other points for the sake of development that a charge is attached?
No, but why do we think it's exclusion? And I think that's where your angle, that's where what you are saying, it puts it.
Remember, this is not my point of view. I'm just asking the question.
I know, I know you're playing devil's advocate right. And everything, but we are Jamaicans. The resources are there for us to benefit. Why is it that a big developer can come in, put up a hotel, and all of a sudden I don't have access to it, when maybe I used to have access to it before? And in many cases, in the government's own data, what they have shown that over the last 25 years, there's been a reduction in beaches available to the public because of the very fact of development. So over time, we've seen people being excluded from beaches, and maybe they grew up in these communities and they can no longer access these beaches. I mean, I know that when I want to go to the beach now, excluded from, if my kids say, let's go to the beach, I have to think about how much dollars I have to fork out, because once upon a time you could carry food to some of these beaches. You could carry your own refreshments. You don't have to pay an entry fee. I mean, sometimes these entry fees are $2,500. Then you're not allowed to carry food, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And I think it becomes really prohibitive. I mean, as a Jamaican, as an island state, why is it that you're being restricted from your own coastline?
So the Jet's position then, if I'm understanding you, is that the access to public beaches should be safeguarded for every beach. It shouldn't be that even if someone has developed a certain area along the beach, there should be provided public access. That, of course, guarantees them privacy on their property, but, of course, public access remains. You're saying public access, should remain for all beaches, is what you're saying.
Right. But again, we need to understand, some people are saying, well, you interfere with the private land. Not allowed to own the beach. You can license the beach, but you're not even supposed to build on the beach. And that's also a problem. People have been building extremely close to the waterline, and so they're saying, oh, you're going to interfere with my property. And that's also problematic and an issue that needs to be addressed. Again, I'm going to cite some examples for you. There are many different examples of countries, Barbados, St. Kitts, where you have these luxury hotels, but in between these luxury hotels, you have a little pathway that allows an ordinary Bajan person or anybody that's in Barbados that's not staying at that hotel to just walk down that path and enjoy the beach. You're not allowed to enjoy the hotel.
Right.
Because that's a different story. You're allowed to enjoy the beach.
What about those who push back, Dr. Rodriguez Moody, and say your stance is anti-development? Because the developers need to be able to offer to their guests some level of privacy and protection. And what you're suggesting wouldn't afford that.
No, again, that's the argument. But then tourists around the world. I mean, you hear them complaining about this in Barbados. You hear them complaining about this in U.S. Virgin Islands. No, I don't think that's a strong enough argument. I mean, if they put up with, I'm going to say put up in quotations, with the locals in a country using the beach. I mean, and I think that's very exclusionary. Development should not exclude the people that are supposed to benefit from it. I mean, come on, I don't agree with that argument, and I think that of course, a hotel sells their property. They market their property. They should not turn around and be making it out like their beach is so. It's not accessible. It's only for the hotel, because in truth, the law right now says the foreshore and the seabed they belong to the crown. The backshore is different, and so therefore we're also calling for a greater setback. And this greater setback is not just about access. This greater setback is also because of climate change. Right? Beaches, a lot of things are being built too close to the coastline, and we need to be setting back. Not unusual again, not unique to Jamaica, what we're asking for. And we need to stop talking about these things like it's such a big surprise. Why? It can't happen in Jamaica, but it happens other places.
Indeed. And for those who if based on the picture, because here's why the numbers game becomes important. If the government is saying there are 60 beaches available to the public free of cost, the question is how many beaches are there? Is it our experience here in Jamaica that more of the beaches are under private control than are publicly available to Jamaicans? If that is the case, that would be problematic. Isn't that so, Teresa Rodriguez Moody?
Yeah, it is. So I just saw a recent post by Jabema. I have not verified the numbers, but they're using the numbers from the government. And what they've indicated is that private and tourist beaches number 352. So 83% of the beaches. And these are recreational beaches. And then there's another number here of 72. Again, I don't know where they got these numbers from, but they also show that there has been an 18% reduction in public beaches in 25 years. So I think, they say that the data is NEPA. They got this data from NEPA.
Yeah,
again,
and they have
too many numbers. Yeah, we have too many numbers circulating.
Absolutely, and I think we need to settle it.
Yeah, we need to sort it out. But what that says is that we have more private and tourist beaches than public beaches. Significantly more. So, but
And
again,
are we
you know, the
saying
way
to
how the government
approximately
is
3 million people, you make do with the 60 beaches that you have, free beaches? That's basically what we're saying. Nah, well, I can see why people would have a problem with that. But we definitely need to settle this debate. We're out of time, Dr. Teresa Rodriguez Moody. But thank you so much for coming on. And this is a conversation that must continue. So hopefully we'll be able to have your voice on it in the future. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Indeed. All right, this is Lead Story. We take the break right here. When we come back, we'll have some members of our newsroom, the journalists that bring you the stories. They're going to join me right here on set, and we're going to talk about the big ticket news items of the past week.
Watch Walking on the Word with Apostle Professor J. Andrew Scott every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m.
An apostle, cause 3 contracts to be released to you. So as of tonight, the realm of the supernatural is active and activated to cause 3 contracts. Pow! 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 In Jesus' name.
Time to get this party started. Cricket, 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 played, 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 louder, 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 louder.
Come to the biggest party in sport and be part of the action. Get your tickets at the local box office or at cplt20.com. Watch it live on Rush Live and Louder, the home of cricket in the Caribbean.
It's how we play.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
What a guan?
What a guan?
That's a guan.
What a guan? What a guan?
What a guan? Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
That's a guan. What a guan?
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins, and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yeah. Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
The style is no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, no charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Walking on the Word with Apostle Professor J. Andrew Scott every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m.
Hallelujah. And they have some people now where you look forward for them. They bring a joy to you. They make you laugh. When you see them, they make you give you a good vibe. And them people that you want around you, man. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now follow me with your heavy self, man. Sure. Your heavy down, so. Hallelujah.
For sticking and staying with us right here inside Lead Story. Before we send you off into the weekend, we have with us on set some of the members of our news team. They'll introduce themselves, but they bring you the stories, the big ticket items of the week. And we want to have a conversation with them about the stories that they've covered over the past week. So we have with us Carla Ramdeen, and of course we have Mr. Kevin Black and Miss Natasha Williams also with us. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to Lead Story.
Thank you so much for having us.
Indeed. Let's begin with you, Carla Ramdeen. What big item did you cover this week?
I think to end this week, I have a very important story. As you know, Cooper Spin, the demolition was happening there. I have a story that's going to create a nexus between Cooper Spin and 85 Red Hills Road, what happened there in 2016, so what it in CVM News at 7. But a little spoiler is that in 2016, the same thing that was happening that is happening at Cooper Spin is happening or happened at 85 Red Hills Road. And so I got to speak to the residents. They recalled their experience and watch the story.
Yes. With a twist, except there was no demolition exercise done there. They narrowly escaped that.
Yes.
And the reason for that you'll get in the major news at the top of the hour. The man I told him I'm going to give him a new nickname. I'm going to break it right here on air. He's the Swiss Army knife of the newsroom, Mr. Kevin Black. He gets everything done. Mr. Black, what's your major story for this week?
My major story for this week came out of the Planning Institute of Jamaica's quarterly media briefing, focusing on the quarter ranging from April to June 2026. Now, one of the biggest headlines that came out of this was that Jamaica's economy contracted by 2.9% between April and June 2026, which is an improvement to the previous quarter from January to March, which was 5.9%. And this was also an improvement over the much sharper contraction immediately after Hurricane Melissa. Another headline that came out of this was that Jamaica can return to pre-Melissa levels of economic output in 1.5 to 2 years instead of the initial 3 years that was projected by the PIOJ immediately after Hurricane Melissa. Now, this has generated a lot of talk in terms of whether or not our economy is in a recession. And the PIOJ explained that we are not in a recession currently.
You heard the numbers there from the Swiss Army knife. Let me bring Natasha Williams in. Yes, we won't say what we call Natasha, but Natasha, what's your major item for this week? What stood out to you in the news this week?
I think the Jamaica Teachers Association, that in many aspects stood out to me for more than one reason. First, I want to say congratulations to Lasagna Harrison on being the newly installed president. And what stood out to me from that is that Jamaica right now in the nation is still left at a cliffhanger in the sense that the government had proposed a new wage offer, which was rejected by the Jamaica Teachers Association at the highest delegate, which is at their 62nd annual conference, which was held during the course of this week. And we saw from that particular conference where Lasagna Harrison had made a presentation which stood out to me as the nation is going into the school term, the new academic school term, and she's calling on the government to provide more equity in the school system for special needs students, because she's saying that, or criticizing that, the government is moving forward digitally while classrooms are being separated with blackboards, as she put it, to have regular classroom engaging with special needs students and regular students. And I'm working on a story which you will see in CVM News soon. Is an investigative piece where, special needs students, I have this particular parent who she said she allegedly reached out to 16 different schools, and to no avail, she could actually get her son into the school because they said they have corporal punishment that they would imply on that student.
So we're keeping the puss in the bag. Yes. So you have to watch CVM to get the rest of it. But what did you make of the outgoing JTA president, then pepper spray, a long time and pepper spray Desmond I. What do you think of? What did you make of that as a reporter listening?
I guess what he said in that comment, basically with the local government, Desmond McKenzie, in that unfortunate incident with him being pepper sprayed, I don't think that that was a right platform to express that view. But based on what Mr. Malava explained on our lead story, and though he said he would not withdraw that comment, is basically saying that what they are putting out as their list of claims right now to the government are things that the local government, including the Mr. McKenzie himself, has not been seeing for the past couple of years.
And this is why the comment is unfortunate, in my lowly opinion, because you now lose the attention of the issues that you really want covered
seriousness of
when you make a comment like that. What did you make of it, Mr. Ramdi?
It was quite an interesting comment, and I think as Jamaicans we make light of serious situations. There's a song about pepper spray in this one. But
I'm not certain look at government means, so we leave that one though. Not for now anyway.
No, but the comment, it wasn't, as Natasha said, it wasn't the right place, the right time to make that comment, especially because it happened so recently.
Mr. Black, your take on it?
So to do some opinion journalism, I would say, the comment in the forum, perhaps I think it was an attempt at gaining some virality, and given how trending the reference was, I do think it could have been done a bit more tastefully and in a different forum instead of that one.
Well, you heard it here. Very, very measured remarks from our very capable reporters. Carla Ramdeen, she's one of the dolls in the newsroom, and Mr. Black, the Swiss Army knife, and Miss Williams, also one of the dollies. Is that what they call it? Is it dolls or dollies? What do you
Educated dollies.
Educated dolls, they say. All right, that's where we have to leave it though for